Sup, y'all? Happy Thursday. Today, we're going to talk about how to go after high value land deals, how to go after deals that net you 50K, 100K, and beyond. Looks like we got an error here with the recording. We should be all good. Don't know what happened there. So, as you guys may or may not know, the process of going after lower value deals is different than the process for mid ticket, and it's definitely a whole lot different than the process for high ticket land deals. Again, high ticket land deals, we're really talking anything north of like 50K plus in gross profit, right? You'll get some outlier deals where you buy them for 20 and you sell them for 70 and you make 50. But I'm more talking about the deals that you buy for 50, sell for 100. You buy for 100, you sell for 200. Buy for 200, you sell for 350. Deals like that. Now, the process is radically different. And so we're going to dive into it, right? Before I do, one thing you guys will see floating down there on the screen, I actually put out a 5-step webinar. So it's 5 steps to building a 6-figure land investing business. We're rolling it out. It's free, rolling it out to the public. If you guys want to check that out, it's landtraining.co/r/B. Pretty bad to the bone. If you guys like it, let me know. I think it's really, really cool. It goes over just the 5 key ingredients to building a 6-figure land business. And it's free. All right, guys, let's dive into it. So going after high value land deals, first and foremost, you guys know what I'm probably going to start with, right? That's your market selection. And the markets we decide to participate in really end up dictating the vast majority of our results. You can have a great acquisition process. You can have the perfect pricing for your offers. But if you're in the wrong markets, there's not much you can do to resolve that, right? If you're not in markets that can support the kind of deals that you want to go after, that have the right buy box for the deals you want to go after, it's almost going to be impossible to come across slam dunk, home run, high value land deals. Now, we're not talking about high value in terms of a percentage, right? That's where it can get confusing. We're not talking about a 300, 400, 500% gain. Frankly, we don't really care. What we care about is how much gross spread there is. How much money can we go and do and get back out from one deal? That's really the metric that we focus on. Now, again, we've got to manage risk. So you pretty much will never see us do a deal that we buy for 200 and sell for 250, at least not deliberately, right? It's not going to fit into our buy box. I think a lot of folks, when they're first getting into land, they think the path to doing bigger deals that net them more is going after deals that have a bigger ROI, right? So, hey, I'm working in this market where deals sell for 70,000. If I want to make more on that deal, they're going to say, hey, I would rather go and buy it at 20 or 30,000. That just simply doesn't work, right? And so I think it's really important that we break down how we're actually going to get there. And the way we're going to get there typically is by going after things that are at a more expensive price point, right? Sorry, I got some visitors in the background. So that's the first thing, right? It's pretty rare that you're ever going to go land big land deals in those markets by trying to reduce your offer prices and get more aggressive with the price that you lock them up. It just doesn't really go down that way. The way it goes down is that we go after deals that are at 100K, 200K. It's going to open us up to more spread. Hope that makes sense. All right, let's move on to point number 2. And that's more marketing, right? If we look at like the average land deal that we do inside LIA, typically you're going to need about 2,000, maybe 2,500 letters per deal that you do. That changes, obviously, right? If we go up market, if we go down market, those numbers are going to slide up and down a good bit. So if we go up market, let's say we're going after 6-figure plus properties, you might see 5,000 to 10,000 letters per deal that we do. Now, the ROAS is still going to be the same or very close to the same. So again, ROAS just tells us if we put X into marketing, what do we get in the back end? So we put in $10 into marketing, call that X. What do we get in the back end? We call that Y. Typically, you're looking at like 10 to 15X. You put $10 in, you get $100, $150 in the back end. That's the typical math that you're going to see. That really doesn't change a whole lot as you go up market. In fact, in some cases, it can actually improve. Where we do see that change a lot is when we go down market. So if you're going after $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 deals, it's really, really hard to maintain a similar ROAS. So what does that mean then? Well, if we want to go after bigger deals, simply put, we need to send out more marketing, right? It's not a byproduct of you doing something wrong, but if you're using the standard metrics of what a $20,000 property is going to require in terms of marketing, a $200,000 property is required something substantially different in terms of the amount of marketing that you have to get out. So this is important that we're familiar with that. It's important that we understand that. And so for me, I mean, it's going to definitely range market to market, but I would say typically 5,000 to 10,000 letters per deal that you do in that 50,000 plus gross profit range is a pretty fair estimation. Think about it though, 5,000 letters, you're looking at about $2,500 in marketing spend. 10,000 letters, looking at about $5,000 in marketing spend. Still not bad math. I think most of us would take that math any day of the week. 3, higher offer percentages, right? So we got to go into markets that can actually support getting bigger deals, as in just that list prices of these properties is a lot higher. We have to go and send more marketing to go get deals. And we have to have a higher offer percentage. Well, why is that? Well, owners of these properties typically are at like a higher level. If there's a socioeconomic totem pole, they're going to be at a higher level. I mean, it's not always the case, but it's almost always the case, very close to always the case. They own a very expensive asset. They typically have options. They're typically aware of the value of the property. And fire selling the property simply isn't something they need to do, right? And so when we come up to them, we can't get away with buying it for pennies on the dollar. You got to come with a more reasonable offer. Now, you will find some owners that are absolutely distressed. They're few and far between, though, honestly. It's not frankly, I think in land in general, the average owner that we work with isn't distressed, right? Because they have the ability to take a really illiquid asset and convert it. That's just a service that we provide. It doesn't require being distressed. But as we go up market, we have to understand that you need more reasonable offer. So when we're looking at doing these larger deals, it's not uncommon that we're seeing 55 to 75% offers of retail, right? So if the property's worth 100, it wouldn't be crazy to say that we're offering 55 to 75,000 for that property. Everybody's saying, okay, Sumner, if you guys do it at 75,000, there's like no spread left, right? If it's a $100,000 property. You're right. And that's typically where value add strategies have to come into play, right? There's a certain tipping point in this business where you can no longer just do your standard cash model and still expect to make 100%. It's just so rare, so rare. Or if I want to go buy a $500,000 property, the likelihood of me selling it for $1 million, few and far between. You'd have to send out an ungodly amount of marketing to get that needle in a haystack. So what do we do instead? Well, we take the route of adding value. The easiest way to do that in land is going to be to do some kind of subdivision or to rezone and entitle the property. It's a really easy way to add value. There's some additional points that you can do as well, creating access, so providing easements to properties. There's some physical improvements that don't add a ton of value, but they can help sell the property a little bit faster. Something along the lines of clearing the property. You might expect to pay $2,000, maybe $2,500 an acre to do some really simple clearing of the property, but that's not really going to move the needle for us to make a buying at 75% of retail value work. So typically, as you start creeping up to those offer percentages, that's where the value add strategy comes to play. Now, again, there's always a counter example to all of this. I'm sure someone could tell me a story of they had a friend in the business that bought a deal for 200 and sold it for 600. In fact, I do know someone that did that. But you have to understand that's like catching lightning in a bottle and trying to do it again and again and again. It's really difficult to build a business off of catching lightning in a bottle, right? What we want to do is we eventually do want to get to the point where we can exercise a lot of capital in one deal, because frankly, the friction of doing a bunch of small deals is really difficult. Like as you get more familiarized with this business, as you get deeper in this business, you'll understand that volume is tough, right? If you think about every deal you do is going to require some kind of input from your team. And so if you want to go from 200 deals to 400 deals to 600 to 800, your team size is going to balloon. But if you take the model of just deploying more capital, you can go a lot farther with a much smaller team. That's one of those things that I never really understood in the beginning. I just figured the lever to growth was just more volume. And then my team started to grow, got past 10 employees and 12 employees. I got this fork in the road where I said, this is not what I want to do in the slightest. I don't enjoy managing this many people. Like there's complexity that comes with that. Humans are complex. And so I think if we look at a land business, it's like, imagine it's just a little machine. And really the equation is how much money can we stuff into that machine and how efficient is the machine and how much money do we get on the back end? And so then it's more about a money deployment problem than a number of deals problem. Like you could deploy $5 million a lot of different ways on acquisitions. You could go do 500 deals or you could do 5 deals. That 5 deal model is something that I like a lot more. But how do we get away with going after bigger deals? You typically do have to implement some value add strategy. Now, we're not going to go super deep on that here, but it is something to start thinking about. Kind of the tipping point that I've seen is like $250,000 plus. That's where you really do have to start creeping up closer to that 75% offer rate. As you're going up into the multiple hundreds of thousands, you definitely have to get a little more competitive with your offers. You got to think too, these people have optionality. I mean, because there's not a huge urgency, they can typically use realtors. They could wait it out. It's typically, these are nicer properties. So there's probably other people that want to buy them. You're not just competing with other land investors, right? When you're going after that podunk little desert square, who are you competing with? Well, just other land investors, but you're not really competing with retail buyers. As you go up market, you certainly are competing with other retail buyers because those deals are good, right? There's only so much good land out there. It's a finite resource of good properties. Think about good properties as a property with good road frontage, good topography, water access, good soil. Like there's only so many properties that fit into that category, right? So these owners have optionality. So that's a higher offer percentage, right? So again, just to recap, we got to be in the right markets. We've got to send enough marketing to even give ourselves the possibility of getting these bigger deals. We can't use the same math that you might be familiar with for smaller deals or for mid-ticket deals. These bigger deals require totally different numbers in terms of marketing. Now, one thing that I want to throw on to that point number 2 is you also need to get more creative with how you market, right? Just sending out one letter and thinking that the job is done doesn't really work here, right? You need to triangulate, something called omnipresence. You got to show up on multiple platforms continually, right? If you look at a lot of industries, they say for direct mail, it's about 7 touches with direct mail before you've got an accurate read on like you fully extracted as much value from that campaign as you possibly can, right? That's not easy to do though. And most people aren't doing that. It's also really expensive. So what's the alternative? Well, I say triangulate from different platforms, right? So like the setup that we take, you go and pull a list, you cold text a list, you do 2 follow-ups via text. Why? Because it's the cheapest form to get in touch with someone. Then from there, you take all the people that haven't responded, all the bad numbers, and you go and mail that, right? And then based off of that, you go and have another step in the process, right? The next step might be cold calling. The next step might be ringless voicemail, which is a little questionable, right? There's some problems with that. We don't do any ringless voicemail in our business. I know a lot of people that do. I know a lot of people that do it successfully. I do think that there's just kind of like a cost of doing business that isn't worth it for me. For some people it is, but like the litigation risk is just a little too high for me to make me comfortable with that. So I think that like if we're going after these bigger land deals, you've got to get more methodical with your marketing. You've got to think about how can I show up on multiple platforms? The example that I always give to people is imagine you're driving to work, right? And you've been thinking, I really need to get my teeth cleaned. You turn up the radio and there's an ad for a dentist. You say, oh, that's interesting. Good timing, right? Good timing. Then that person is driving, you look up at the billboard and you say, oh shit, that same dentist is on the billboard. How weird is that? You get to the office, you pull out your laptop, you get on your laptop, you're scrolling on Facebook, even though you shouldn't be. And you see the person's ad again, it's the same dentist. At this point, you say, God damn, this dentist must be the best. The best. And if you really wanted to seal the deal here, if your friend also said they just went to this dentist, it's game over. That person, hook, line, and sinker, they're sold. So what happened there? Well, the person already has a need. They're already thinking about it. So with us, with sellers, they're already thinking about selling. Okay, yeah, I could be open to selling. It might be time. Boom. Then they get a letter from us. Oh, okay. This person is interesting. They gave me a decent offer, but they don't call you, right? They're not ready to commit to that. You got to think about when a seller calls you, they're committing to a conversation with you. They're committing to open up that dialogue with you. A lot of people do want to sell. A lot of people might be receptive to your offer, but they're not ready to call you. And the thing is, most land investors, they just give up there, right? Sent one letter. We got a small amount of responses. We're done with that campaign. No, that's what the game has just started. So they get a text from us. Oh shit, that was the same person that sent me a letter 2 weeks ago. They just texted me. That's kind of weird. And then they get a cold call from you. They say, oh, is this the person that's been emailing me and texting me and mailing me? All right, yeah, I'm ready to talk, right? And that's how we have to think about it from the standpoint of doing these bigger land deals, right? So for you, if you're out there and you're sending one campaign to one market and then you go and find new markets and you're done with that, you're leaving so much money on the table. Money that people like myself and other LIA members will come and grab because it's just for the taking, right? So many land investors have been conditioned that you just mail once and you're done. And that works for smaller deals, does not work for bigger deals, right? One of the things that we created last year is we said, hey, we're going to build out something we call our dream list. And our dream list is essentially a combination of all the counties we want to work in. So these are our favorite counties right now. We like the demand here, like the kinds of properties here. We like everything about it. We might like the subdivide rules, whatever it may be. And that dream list, we just keep on showing up there, keep on working it, keep on working it. We just don't stop, right? We're never not showing up there. And sure enough, it started to pay dividends. All right, point number 4. If we're doing all the right things in the marketing, right? You're picking the right markets, you're doing the right things with your marketing, Your offer percentages are on point. What happens next? Well, if you don't have a strong acquisition process, all that is essentially for naught, right? It doesn't really matter. If you don't pick up calls when they come in, if you don't have support there, it's done. It's done. You've lost the battle, right? Think about all the work we had to do just to get the freaking person to pick up the phone. If you're not there to pick up the phone or someone's not there to pick up the phone, you've lost the deal. It's done. It's done before it even started, right? So if you're going to take the time to do all of this work on the front end, you better have an airtight acquisition process. Here's the good news. This business is really simple. It's very simple, right? It's not easy, but it's very simple. You've got acquisitions, you got your operations, you got dispositions. It's really it, right? You got to make sure that you're firing on all cylinders in all those areas. If we looked at, though, like what really moves the needle, it's going to be, everything is going to be really slanted towards acquisitions. That's where the magic happens. That's the only area in this business that we have a lot of control over, right? What markets we participate in, what deals we say yes to, how we negotiate those deals. That's really all we have control over, right? So we want to over-index on that. We want to put a lot of our time, our thinking, our resources towards building out a really comprehensive acquisition process. All right, so let's talk about what really matters in terms of acquisitions. Well, first off, you shouldn't be the one doing the acquisitions. Okay, let's just put that out there. You need support. There's no way you can be the CEO and pick the markets and be the operator and be the acquisition manager. It just doesn't work. It won't work. It'll work up to a certain point, and then it won't work anymore, right? You're going to be wondering, why can't I grow? Well, because you don't have support on acquisitions, okay? The first thing is you got to have the support there. I always tell people the land business is like a labor play, right? We're not cracking the code. We're not inventing some new social network. We're not trying to get product market fit. Like, we already know all those things. Our product is known. We don't have to invent a service. We don't have clients to manage. It's really a labor play. It's about getting the right people in the right seats, creating the right roles, creating the right incentives, and making sure that they're A players. That's the stuff that moves the needle, right? And so luckily, a lot of the work is already done for us. You just got to put a lot of your time and resources to focusing on that, mainly on the acquisition side. As you grow, there'll be other problems. There'll be other areas to focus on. But in the beginning, we really want to over-index on acquisitions, okay? So what matters? First off, speed to lead. I can't tell you how many letters I get every single month from land investors. We'll call them or text them just to see. They never pick up. They never call us back. They don't respond to the text. Someone sent me a text yesterday saying, we want to buy this property from you in Arizona. I texted them back. You know, when they texted me back, 3 days later, 3 days later, that's what our competition is doing, right? The bar is set so low in this business, so low. That's partially because there's so many people out there that don't treat this like a business, right? There's so many people out there that treat this like a hobby, like a side hustle. And that side hustle work ethic or showing up part-time will get you part-time results, right? And it's actually it's weird. It's exponential. So if part-time, you're making $100,000 a year, full-time, you think, well, maybe I'm going to make $200,000 a year, right? It seems like it'd be a linear relationship. It's not. You go from $100,000 part-time to like $500,000 full-time or $1 million full-time. It's this like exponential jump by having full-time resources dedicated to your land business. So that speed to lead, what does that mean? Lead comes in, we're on them quick. Look at any statistic on inbound leads for any industry. Everything is going to tell you about 15 minutes or less is when you need to touch that lead, right? So if we've done all the work to get that lead to give us a call, you need to have support. So the way we do it, send out all of our marketing. First call comes in, it hits Pat Live. Pat Live is our first line of defense. Why do we use them? Because it's really freaking affordable. It's really affordable. They work 24/7. They work holidays, they work nights, they work weekends, they work every hour of the day. And they're really good at what they do. So all US-based employees. We always get compliments. Oh, your receptionist is so sweet, or they're so good. And they just go through a script that we have, right? All LIA members get access to that script. And they go through and ask the questions. And so we never miss a call there, right? Then that gets added into our CRM. We get all the leads information. And then our acquisition manager takes over. And then they go and call the lead. And they go and take them through our acquisition process, right? That window, when we get a lead from Pat Live, we're optimizing for about 15 minutes to touch them. Do we miss it? For sure. There's times where whatever reason we get 10 leads at once. There's no way we can get to everyone. But that's what we're shooting for, okay? So that's speed to lead. And speed to lead also, like, to me, it's not just about when the lead comes in. It's also about how you hold the communications with them throughout the whole entire journey that they're with you, right? Do they send you an email and you wait a day to respond? Do they send you a text and you wait a day to respond? Those things matter, right? I always tell people, We want to be very human in our communication, like how we speak to people. We want to be very corporate and professional with how speedy we are to get to things, how prompt we are, how we're always on time, how we always do what we say we're going to do. That's where we want to be professional. But when you're on the phone speaking to them, you want to speak to them like you're a normal person, right? Don't act like you're a big business. People don't like that. It doesn't resonate. Okay. So a bit of a dichotomy there. Number 2, I'm going to share with my screen with you guys something we call our 14-day seller lead cadence. I don't know who here is doing deals. If you are doing deals in your land business, put it in the chat so I know. Just say deals. If you're doing deals, let me know. I don't know who here is doing deals, but if you are doing deals, one of the things you've probably experienced is that you get a lead that reaches out. Seller lead comes in, looks like a great deal. You're super excited. You underwrite the deal. You call them, they don't pick up. Call them again, they still don't pick up. Call them a third time, they don't pick up. Most people say, all right, we're done. Game's over. I'm going to share my screen. This is what we do. So it's what we call our 14-day seller lead cadence. I'll share this with you guys. So this is what we do when we get a seller lead, right? We do this until we get a hold of someone. Once we get a hold of that seller lead, this breaks. This is all manual. So day 1, call, email, text. Day 2, call, email, text. Day 3, call, text. Day 4, call, email. Day 5, call, text. Day 6, call. Day 7, call, email, text. Day 8, email. Day 9, call, text, rest, call, email, text. And at that point, we got nothing. We'll move them to a drip campaign. This is a 14 business day campaign. We don't do this on the weekends. What this allows us to do is, like, let's say we get 100 leads. 30% of them, we might just never get a hold of them. But the other 70%, we will get a hold of them somewhere along this journey. The trouble is most people don't do this. They stop maybe here. And so they only get a small fraction out of that pool of 100 people where we're able to go get whatever, maybe the remaining 40% that they're not getting. There's a lot of meat left on the bone just by building a more efficient system for the leads that you do have, right? So many of us, and myself included, I'm guilty of this. We're always focused on more input, right? More leads coming in, more mail going out, more. Yet your system is not very efficient. More doesn't really matter if you're not doing a good job with what you already have. It's like, in fact, you almost don't even deserve to have more because you're mistreating the things that you do have, right? It's like if someone wants a nice car and they don't even take care of their car, they don't change the oil, they don't get it washed, they don't change the tires. It's like, you don't deserve to get a nice car. You don't even know how to treat your crappy car well. So why would you treat a good car nicely? Like, you just won't, right? So we got to create a very efficient system for how we handle the leads that we do have. I don't care if you have 5 leads coming in or 50 leads coming in. You need to stay on track with that process. You spend $100 to $300 for every lead that comes into your business. And so if you're not handling them appropriately, you're lighting money on fire. It's crazy to me. And a lot of people don't even think about this, right? They just think, oh, this business really comes down to sending some mail, getting some deals, and buying them. It's like there's so much more at play here, right? And I don't say that to scare people or make this business sound daunting. Again, it's simple, but you've got to look at it through the lens of being an entrepreneur, right? It's no different than any other business. I think the name land investing is so freaking misleading, right? Really what drives the results here is the more the business building side, the entrepreneur side. The investing side matters little. And once you know how to underwrite a deal, what else is there to do from the investing side? I mean, you can get more creative, and I'm sure there's people that know way more than I do about structuring deals or doing interesting deals, and that's great. But I really think what's moved the needle for us and for our members is really more so on the business building side. Okay. Number 3, when we're actually speaking to a seller lead, what are we doing? Most people have no idea what to do on the phone with a seller. They think it's just an opportunity to give them a price, have them ask any questions, reinforce next steps. That stuff matters to some extent. But really at the end of the day, the way I look at all seller calls, especially for higher end properties, is we're doing what we call fact finding, right? Every single seller lead has a reason as to why they reached out. It's your job to figure out what that is. And then from there, we can build an offer that's bespoke to their need, right? I think it's a lot easier to create offers when we know what the need is of the seller than just blanketing and saying, we offer 50% of retail value. So your property's worth 100, we'll give you 50. Well, what if they only needed 30? That's really why they reached out. But you never did the fact finding to figure that out, right? And so especially as we go up market, we're going after bigger deals with more sophisticated owners. A really good way to blow up a deal is by just talking money immediately, just getting straight to the chase, just talking price. Well, price actually might not be the most important variable to the seller. And a lot of times it isn't, especially on these bigger properties, right? They want to know, do you actually have the money? Will you close on time? You're not going to try to renegotiate at closing. Are you going to take care of the property? What are you going to do to the property? Who are you as a person, right? If you have like a $500,000 property that's been in your family for generations, you don't want to just give that thing up to anyone, right? They could go get an offer from Joe Schmo. They could get an offer from a lot of people. I think a good example is like if you go through and look at the 90-day challenge videos with Dennis and Rob, and you listen to a lot of Dennis's calls, they're really geared around fact finding and rapport building. A lot of these people get so excited. They say, we want to take you out to lunch, or I want to meet you, or you sound like such a great person. And, I got other offers, but I really want to sell to you. And that's the kind of situation we want to create from a rapport perspective. And I think the easiest way to do that is by fact finding. So asking them questions, like how can we be a good listener? Simply is asking questions and then listening. How can we be a good conversationalist? Same thing. Ask questions, listen. Being a good conversationalist is rarely about just you going and blabbering and talking. Rarely works. I think a lot of times people get on seller calls and they don't know anything about acquisitions, and they like, dude, what the hell do I say? Like, the seller doesn't have very many questions for me. They're not telling me what price they want. So I'm just going to give them an offer. I'm just going to get off the phone. I'm just going to give them an offer and I'm going to be done. That's like rookie school 101 right there, right? It's a good way to get small deals. It's a great way for you to not get big deals, right? So it's like one of those things with I don't know if anyone's ever used a CPA here, but like if you go file taxes with a CPA, what I've learned is if you don't ask, they don't tell, right? So they rarely do CPAs say, we should do all 30 of these different things to save on taxes. It's more like you bring the questions to the table and then they validate, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? So they kind of hold your hand through that. I've gone through a lot of different CPAs and I never have had one that's like, Sumner, this year you're going to do these 20 different things. That's going to make such a big difference. It's more like I do my own research. I bring to the table my questions. They say, yeah, we'll do these 12, but those 10 you shouldn't do. And here's why, right? Like I asked my CPA last year, I said, should I move to Puerto Rico? And they're like, no, you shouldn't. Here's why. Listed it all off. Same thing with sellers. Like you've got to prompt the discussion. You got to prompt the questions. And a lot of times it's like, dude, just talk to them as if they're a normal person, right? And that's where we go back to that framework of we talk to them like a human, but we're very professional in how we actually hold our word and get in contact with them, how quick we are to get in contact with them, all those things. That's where we're very professional. So that fact finding. Does anyone have questions on fact finding? If you guys do, feel free to put it in the chat. I'm happy to answer that. We'll fact find about the property. We'll fact find about them. We'll fact find as to why they're looking to sell now. A question as simple as like, have you been thinking about selling for a while, or is this a new idea? Boom, that will tell you a lot. They might say, I've been thinking about doing it for years. I'm just trying to figure out the market value of my property. Okay, probably not a great lead, right? Versus, well, my car just got repossessed and I need money for my mortgage. So I just started thinking about it. Oh, okay. That changes things, right? But you only get that from fact finding. The best case scenario, this doesn't always happen, but the best case scenarios, we're in our fact finding mode with a seller. And the seller says, hey, look it, son, I got X, Y, and Z thing happening. This is why I'm reaching out to you. I need this amount of money to do the deal. When we get that, that's gold. Now we can work from that. Will we always give them that number? No, it doesn't always work out that way, but that's the best case scenario. You're really shooting in the dark when you just throw out a number, right? We're always kind of in this dance with sellers where it's like, who's going to give the number first? Is it me? Is it you? Is it me? Is it you? Is it me? Is it you? It's like a game of poker. Like we want them to show their cards before we show our cards, right? Now I might be saying similar, well, we put all these offers on our letters. Isn't that supposed to do all this for us? Kind of, right? What are the offers and the letters for? It's really to pre-qualify the leads, right? If I go send out 10,000 neutral letters, I'm going to get a couple hundred leads and very few of them are going to be qualified. So I'm going to need a lot of manpower to sift through all of that. Opposed to if I go and send out 10,000 blind offers, maybe I get 40, 50, 60 leads, and probably about half of those are actually pre-qualified. So we need less resources, less people, less humans on our team to go and sift through that, right? So that price kind of pre-qualifies it. Hey, it says we're at least on the same page here, right? But it's very rare that we ever do deals at that price because we can typically get a better price by just fact finding and figuring out their needs. And we're also not always accurate with the price that we give, right? That's why we don't optimize for perfection with our pricing. We just try to get right enough and get in that kind of sweet spot, right? All right. Number 4 for acquisitions, what I call personal touch. And there's an interesting framework in business, and it says, Ryan says, why did your CPA tell you not to move to Puerto Rico? Something along the lines of the fact that for a real estate business, he was concerned that I wouldn't be able to apply because I was still doing real estate deals in the US, and it was something along those lines. He said, like, if you were running just exclusively a coaching business, it would be a lot easier. For a real estate business, I don't know. I guess there was something. It sounded like it was more of a gray area than anything else, but he says like it sounded like it was unlikely because we were doing so many transactions in the US. I don't know. One thing I do know, I think a lot of the rules have started to kind of tighten up around that loophole. I don't think it's as easy as it used to be. I'm no expert on it. I think, on a kind of a side note, when it comes to like taxes and when it comes to investing, kind of the thing that I've run into is I think it's easier to do the basics, right? So do the basics, right? So I moved to Las Vegas, no state income tax, structure your business correctly, have an S corp, write off as much as you can in the business, buy real estate for depreciation, all the simple things. But beyond that, it's really just diminishing returns. It's like you should probably just focus on going and making more money. And frankly, I think like you should live in a place that you enjoy. I think I would enjoy Puerto Rico, but I know plenty of people that have moved there and end up hating it, and they're less productive because of it. So kind of like the revelation that I've had is it's probably better just to go make more money than be so hyper obsessed on like investing or saving on taxes. Kind of a tangent. So the fourth touch, though, is what I call personal touch. Fourth point is what I call personal touch. So a lot of deals that we've won that are bigger deals have come from really interesting kind of additional marketing strategies that we've used, right? We usually do this once we have someone in our orbit, right? So they're in our CRM, things are going good, we're speaking the same language, but we're not quite there yet. One of the things that we'll do is we'll send out a box of cookies, a box of steaks. I've seen people go and send out whole mailboxes to people, gift cards, these little subtle touches. One of my favorite strategies that's really cost effective is we'll send out handwritten notes. We use a platform called, I think it's called Handy Written. I think it's written with a Y, WRYTTEN or something like that. It's like a robo handwriting. Just send a nice little handwritten note. It looks very legit. It costs us like $6 to send out. And those little personal touches do go a long way, right? What I think about with these bigger deals is that we're in competition, not with other land investors. I mean, there are other land investors, but there's way more people at stake here, right? There's realtors that want the listing. Maybe the neighbor wants to buy the property. Usually a lot of these properties typically have multiple people that also own them, right? So it's like, it's a family that owns it. It's a trust that owns it. It's a husband and wife that owns it. And there can be differing opinions in terms of what they want to do there, right? So for example, we've got a deal that we've been working for a while now in Atascosa County, Texas. It's a beautiful 200-acre property. We made an offer on the deal at $2,500 an acre, which is a pretty insane deal. There's 3 people on title. 2 of them said yes. The third doesn't want to sell. The third is like a cousin or something like that. This deal chopped up into 10-acre increments is probably worth about $12,000 to $15,000 an acre. It's a huge deal. And so what have we been doing? Well, unfortunately, we haven't been able to find the cousin's contact info. We've asked for it. They won't give it to us. I'm sure we could go down the skip trace rabbit hole and all that stuff, but we've just been staying top of mind with little gifts here and there, little nudges here and there. I think it really goes a long way, right? What's cool is like, as you start going after these bigger deals, because there's just more money in between the deal, right? A deal that's going to make you $250,000, you can afford to spend a lot more in terms of how you show up with these leads. It's one of my favorite things about doing bigger deals is that like you can do the unscalable, right? You can't do this stuff on smaller deals. You can't even really do this on mid-ticket deals. It doesn't really make sense. It's too much work. It's too much money. But as we start going up market, we got a lot more flexibility there. Hold on, guys. I'm going to grab some water. You guys stay with me, all right? I won't leave. All right. So those little unscalable touches, and I say that loosely in quotes, really go a long way, right? Now, one thing that I want to throw on top of that with these personal touches is changing your expectations, right? Understanding that the sales cycles for these deals are way, way, way longer, right? And that's where these personal touches come in, because what happens is we get new leads in for a deal that's like a buy for 20, sell for 40. I mean, frankly, we typically know within a month if the deal is going to happen or not, right? We'll still follow up outside of that, but most of the money we're going to make is going to kind of happen in that window where we get the acquisition and it's a done deal. With these bigger deals, what we found is it's totally not the case, right? These deals, and for us at least, like these $250,000+ type deals, take months to put together. And I could see how some could even take years to put together. So then that begs the question, well, in that window, how the hell do you follow up? Just sending out the text saying, hey, got any update? Hey, you ready to sell now? Won't work, right? Follow-up is important, but also follow-up could be your worst enemy if you're not tactful with how you follow up, right? So it's like this really fine line that we have to tiptoe where the sales cycles are longer. There's simply more decision makers at stake. So how do we show up in that window? We don't want to go dark and then we're just no longer top of mind. But how do we touch them in a way that's tactful? Well, for me, that's where those little gifts, those little personal touches go a long way. One of the interesting things that we've had a lot of success with recently, and this is slightly different, but I think it's still relevant, is we've been using memes. Yes, memes with an M for our follow-up, right? So I had someone on my team who's got design chops build out these SpongeBob memes, and we've been using them to follow up or to check in. And it's like a really nice, non-pushy way to stay top of mind and to get a chuckle. And it's awesome, right? For example, this week we had 10 leads. These weren't like super high value leads. These were like mid-ticket leads. 10 leads who had expressed interest in selling, but had gone dark on us. We send out this little meme. We get a 40% response rate, and we close 2 contracts from that, right? From 10 leads, 4 people responded, closed 2 contracts. From a SpongeBob meme. That's pretty awesome, right? But that same thing applies too, is like, it's a good way to stay top of mind. You can elicit emotional reaction. You can make someone chuckle, make someone laugh, make someone remember you. And we can do it in a very non-pushy way. A lot of the follow-up that I get, right? I get a lot of follow-up texts from other land investors who want to go and say, I want to buy this property. And they follow up. Typically their follow-up is like, are you ready to sell now? Have you thought more about selling? Is now the right time to sell? It's like, dude, fuck off. No, it's not. Frankly, it's annoying. I'm going to block your number, right? Let's look at this question here. Matthew says, I'm doing deals, but looking to go for more 50K to 100K deals. Great advice. Thank you. Yeah, man, I think that too, one thing that's worth throwing on here is it's also a mindset shift, right? Like you also have to declare that this is what you're going to do. I think a lot of people I suffer from this. I wanted to start doing big deals, but I wasn't really ready to do what was required to start doing big deals because I hadn't committed to that idea yet. So what I would do, which was totally asinine, is I would go and do all my mailers, my standard mailers, right? Go mail Costilla County or Apache County, whatever market. And I would just kind of pray. I'm like, okay, maybe this is the time I get a big deal. This is the time I get lucky. I was using that hope and prayer method, right? And it didn't work. It wasn't until I said, all right, fuck it. I'm going in on big deals. I'm doing big deals. And I started to go through this kind of sequence of checklists that I put forth here. And then, of course, that's when it started to unfold. And again, the mindset shift here is you've got to be in the right markets to do big deals. I was trying to do big deals in the podunk little land investor markets with small deals. And it just doesn't work like that. It's so rare that you're going to buy one of those deals at 20 cents on the dollar and be able to make that work. It's a lot easier to go buy something at 60 cents on the dollar and make that work, right? So let's go talk about the last point here. And this is the funding aspect of things, okay? There's a good amount to unpack here. So first off, you need someone else's capital, right? Unless you're Daddy Warbucks, there's no way that you can go and fund multiple 6-figure acquisitions and still pay the salary for your team and still do your marketing. It's going to be really hard to do unless you've got oodles of cash. And even if you've got oodles of cash, I would still say it's in your best interest to go use other people's money. Money is relatively pretty cheap. And frankly, you could just do more of everything, do more marketing, have a bigger team, do more deals by leveraging other people's money opposed to trying to self-fund your deals. So a lot of folks, myself included, when I first got started, the idea of borrowing money was the weirdest thing ever. It felt frankly uncomfortable to me, right? I think it's the one thing that's very investor-like that we do is leveraging other people's capital, right? If you come from a real estate investing background, using private money, it's dude, of course, obviously it's what we all do. For me, where I came from, was everything I'd ever done had been bootstrapped. So that idea of going using other people's money was what? People want to give me money and what? No, are you for real? I don't want to take other people's money. I don't want that responsibility. Well, the truth is that there's more opportunity out there, or there's more money out there than there's opportunity, other way around, right? So if you're the one that can generate opportunities, finding money is pretty straightforward. You just got to get yourself in the right rooms and know how to present yourself, and you got to have integrity, right? Do not take on any capital if there's even a shadow of a doubt that you might do the wrong thing, right? because it's a serious offense. You could not only ruin your career and never be able to raise private money again, but you'd also could do something that's potentially illegal, right? The way I think about risk is that like there's some risk that's reversible and there's some risk that's irreversible. So for example, when I moved to Las Vegas in February, everyone was like, that seems so risky. You're just going to get up and leave your life in San Diego and just move. I'm like, yeah, it's reversible. If I don't like it, I can move back. I can move anywhere. It's not a big deal. But taking on money before you're ready, before you have a track record, or if your integrity is in question, you make a mistake there, that's potentially irreversible, right? I've got a friend, and I won't name names, but I've got a friend who used to be one of our investors, and he still is. But he used to be like our number one investor. He used to do all of our deals, and he's making a full-time income from it. Guy was killing it, right? Well, we started to change our model. We started doing less joint venture deals and all that stuff. So he started going and finding other opportunities to fund deals. So he came across a guy on Instagram who had a big Instagram following and was doing fix and flips and Airbnbs and all that stuff. And he gives this guy money, 6 figures plus, does it once, gets paid out a big old return in 6 months. He's like, this is awesome. I'm going to do more of this. Does it a second time, puts more money in this time. Guy never pays him back, right? It's been a year. He's in a lawsuit. Guy claims he just doesn't have the money, just disappeared, right? I'm thinking like, this guy is so asinine. And that literally, that's your career racing private money is done, like done. And now they can see this on your record too. They can see that you've been served or whatever. I don't even know what the exact term is. So all that to be said is you've got to be really careful here, right? And I'm not an SEC attorney. I'm not going to advise you on the structure to raise private money or any of that stuff. Like, do your own due diligence. There's red tape here for a reason. But what I will say is if you are someone that can create opportunities, the world is essentially your oyster, right? A lot of people have money. A lot of people don't know how to deploy it, don't know how to create opportunities. So one thing that I will throw on there too is that like it becomes infinitely easier once you have a track record, right? So sometimes that means doing a few smaller deals or using joint venture money and then going and getting private money. Let's talk about kind of like that stepping stone, that stair-stepping pattern. You're typically going to start, you probably use joint venture money, right? Someone's going to come in, they're going to take equity in your deal, but they're going to fund the deal. That's what we do for our students inside LIA, right? We trust that, hey, they went through our system. They know how to find deals. They know how to go after the right deals, fund those deals. They take us a piece of the pie, but we close on the deal for them, cover closing costs, cover the purchase price. And it's also acts as a form of like being an advisor too, right? Because they've done more deals than you've done. So they can advise and say, this deal is bad for this reason, or this deal is actually really good for this reason. So it's like a kind of an added layer of safety. The trouble is that becomes expensive over time. But this is crazy to me, right? Raising joint venture money is pretty damn simple. I see so many investors who don't even use joint venture capital. They don't even know how to go and find it. That's why we integrated that inside LIA, because that's the first step, right? Like you got to remove that bottleneck. If you can't fund the deals, you can't go after big deals, you're fucked. Like you got to have that access to that money. But here's the thing. You start doing those deals, it gets really expensive. We got to a point where we're paying out hundreds of thousands a year to joint venture funders. And I'm like, okay, well, if I just go and find cheaper capital instantly, that hits my bottom line, right? My girlfriend, Sarah, runs a coaching business, fitness coaching business. She's been doing it for like 7 years. It's a pretty big business. She had a piece of software that did like a lot of the back end for her, right? Like it helped a lot with her client management and meal plans and all this stuff. But this software took 30% of her revenue. And so when we first started dating, I said, I know I'm out of my place here to say this. I know we just started dating, but you got to get rid of this software because this is insane. I'm like, you could wake up tomorrow and have 30% more profit on your bottom line instantly. It's a similar story with finding cheaper capital. You don't need to do anything new. You don't have to go do more deals or bigger deals, different kinds of deals. All you got to do is get cheaper capital and boom, that hits your bottom line instantly. So it usually goes joint venture money. Typically it's going to go with some kind of like hard money, like deal-based lending. So like hard money or like promissory note for that deal. And then you might go like an overarching bigger promissory note that's just like time-based, it's not hooked to any deal. And then you might go bank financing and maybe you raise a fund. That's kind of like the stair-stepping pattern. To do all those things, you definitely need to get a track record, both to give confidence to investors and also for you to be able to forecast how much money you're going to need, right? But that's why we go through that sequence, because the deal-based debt, private money or hard money, that's still deal-based. They get a first lien position, the investor secured. and you're not taking on a substantial amount of risk because it's just lending on that one deal. What you wouldn't want to do is go do 2 JV deals and then go raise $500,000 on a promissory note. And you're like, well, shit, I don't even have enough deals to deploy this on. And you're going to be on the hook for paying interest on that and obviously paying the money back. So as you kind of graduate to all of those steps, right? So one of the cool things that I've seen as you get more advanced in this business, a really easy lever to pull to make deals work is through financing, right? It's like there's a whole business out there of just high finance, of just becoming a financial engineer and making deals work. I'll give you a cool example. There's a guy inside the group. His name's Kyle. He shared this over the weekend. So he did a deal that was a buy for $200,000. It was a sell for $400,000. Good deal, right? But here's where the deal gets interesting. He only put $50,000 into the deal. You might be saying, Sumner, how the heck did he do that? Well, he went and got bank financing on the deal, put 25% down, and then sold it at $400,000. So now his cash on cash return is out of control, right? He just 4x that 50 grand. That's really powerful. And so I've seen people do this on deals where the margin is really compressed, right? If we're talking about those deals that we're buying at 70%, 65%, 75% of market value, well, we could go the value add strategy, or we could go the financial engineering strategy and make those deals still work, even without adding value, by having access to better capital. So I've seen folks that do a deal where it's like it's a buy for 100, it's a sell for 175, but they put 25% down on that 100. So they put 25K down, they 3x their money, right? So 75K of spread, but they only put 25K into that deal. That's really interesting. And you could also use lenders to put the down payment down too, right? So as we start going after these bigger deals where margin does become a little bit compressed because we have to offer at higher rates, you can get more sophisticated by doing some of that financial engineering or by going the route of value add, right? Anyone have any questions on this? If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. But I think this is a really important topic. You know, the cool thing for you guys is that this is not limited. Like you could start doing this from day one in your land business, like just making that decision that you're going to go after bigger deals and investing the time, the resources, the brain power into all the things that we just put forth here, right? What's really freaking interesting about this business is that, like, all things being equal, it takes pretty much the same work to do a small deal as it takes to do a big deal. So then it begs the question, well, what's the difference? Well, it's really just the choice that you make. And then you just have to kind of patch the holes in your business as they come, right? Cool, guys. Anyone have questions? I'll give you a kind of a cool example of a deal we just got an offer on yesterday. So we had a deal in Texas. We bought it for $85,000, and we got an offer at $275,000 for the deal. Owner financed over 1 year at 10% interest. So 275 down. They put 20% down. So we get 55,000 down as the down payment. And then I forget what the numbers is. We get like $18,000 a month or something like that, right? So you can also get creative with your disposition strategies on these deals. Like a lot of the dispo stuff that we use for smaller deals does still work on these bigger deals. In fact, what I've noticed with these bigger deals is you can actually get a higher down payment than you can on smaller deals in terms of a percentage, right? It's really hard to get a 20% down payment on smaller deals. It's certainly possible on bigger deals. Now we're presented with the option of selling that note or keeping that note. We'll probably keep that note because it's a bit of a no-brainer. We get our basis back in like 3 months. So anyways, guys, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it was meaningful. Sorry for the 2 blonde girls walking through the background in the beginning. Definitely kind of got my train of thought off topic. But yeah, I'm going to call it good here. I'm going to go get a workout in. I'm going to go see the Barbie movie with 6 different girls. So I'm okay with that. Right? I don't want to see the Barbie movie by myself. My girlfriend said, hey, 5 of my other friends are going to come too. I said, okay, well, 6 beautiful ladies going to a Barbie movie. I'm cool with that. That sounds okay with me. You can twist my arm. I'll go. All right, guys. Anyways, I hope everyone has a great day. Stay awesome. Don't remember the week's not over. Still got time to make changes. If you guys took anything away from this, let me know. Drop us a comment inside Discord if this was meaningful. If you guys want to learn about building a 6-figure land business, you guys want to go through our 5-step webinar that I put together, you can go to that link. It should be down below on the screen. It's just www.landtraining.co/r/b. I'll put that in the chat for y'all. All right. Much love, everyone. See ya.